Χαίρετε κυρίες και κύριοι, καλώς ήρθατε στην εκπομπή μας. Σήμερα έχουμε έναν πολύ σημαντικό καλεσμένο, έναν δημοσιογράφο, είναι ένας συνάδελφός μου, έρχεται από την Αμερική, είναι επικεφαλής του γραφείου της Ουάσιγκτον στο Breitbart News, έναν μεγάλο οργανισμό ειδησιογραφικό. Θα συζητήσουμε μαζί του όλα αυτά τα οποία μας ενδιαφέρουν και σχετίζονται με την Ελλάδα και την Αμερική σε μια περίοδο που γεωπολιτικά έχει πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέρον. Είμαι σίγουρος θα συμφωνήσετε μαζί μου. Mr. Μάθιου Μπόιλ, thank you very much. Welcome to Greece. Welcome to our studio for this discussion.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I know that you're coming lately, that you're coming a lot to our country.
Second time in less than a year, and we'll see if there's more coming up.
This will be my second question.
Okay.
I'll start with the first question because I'm hearing that this is the question that our Prime Minister's office, in our Prime Minister's office, they are asking a lot.
Sure.
Will President Trump come to Greece in his term?
Yeah, the president said that he's going to. So just while I've been here, President Trump said some very kind words about Greece. Just I believe last night, he was swearing in the Greek ambassador, the new Greek ambassador to the United States at the White House. And at the ceremony came out and said a couple of big things. First and foremost, that U.S. relations with Greece have never been stronger. I think he's right about that. I just interviewed Kimberly Guilfoyle, the U.S. ambassador to Greece, at a big event last night at the Grand Bretagne here in downtown Athens. But in addition to that, the president said he does intend to come to Athens. And so that is
it will be a formal
it'll be a formal visit from the president. I don't know if we have a date and time yet, and we'll be watching to hear from the White House and the president about when that will be. But the president said that he intends to come to Athens. If the president says something, I believe him. He is a man of his word. So you can love him or hate him or whatever you think of President Trump. The one thing you cannot deny is that he is a man of his word. If he says he's going to do something, he says he's coming to Athens. He's coming to Athens. Okay. Let me be clear. Yeah.
Well, we will follow up about his ideas and his views about the Greek and U.S. relations. However, since it seems that you are coming to Greece.
Yes.
Why?
I think that there are massive opportunities here that the West has overlooked in recent administrations that I'm trying to highlight as a journalist because I'm trying to tell the stories about this stuff. And I think that there are, really big energy, geopolitical, and trade opportunities that exist here that we just haven't seen the American administrations take advantage of. In previous administrations, for instance, in President Trump's first term, look, there are 190-something countries in the world, 180-something, 191, depending on which definitions of countries you believe. The United States doesn't appoint a political ambassador to every single one of them. And for instance, back in President Trump's first term, he was a decent guy, but the U.S. ambassador here was this guy named Jeffrey Pyatt. He was a career State Department official, right? He'd worked for multiple different administrations, wasn't somebody who was politically close with the president. This time around, President Trump has appointed Kimberly Guilfoyle, who is very close with the president and his family. Obviously, she, had a personal relationship with his son, but beyond that, she's somebody who has had a deep history in the conservative movement, the Make America Great Again, or MAGA, or America First movement, whatever you want to call it, over the last decade or so, and longer, really, in the United States. She's somebody who has the president's ear. And why did the president appoint her? I think that it's because he sees the same things that we see, which is that, and you see the trade agenda that the president pursued. So the last time I was here was right after Liberation Day, when the president announced the tariffs last year. And the reason why it was a big deal, I interviewed Prime Minister Mitsotaki when I was here. He was the first world leader anywhere on planet Earth that defended President Trump after he did the tariffs. And he came out and said, we're going to get to a place where there's going to be a trade deal between the European Union, the EU, and the United States. Well, lo and behold.
I should say, I should point out that Mr. Mitsotakis is probably the only European leader that also was in power when Trump was on his first term.
That I believe that's the case, and maybe there's two other ones from small countries.
Okay,
but I think,
let's say
right, but from a big enough country, yeah. So, and that's the thing, is that I think he has his history of having worked with the president before. So they have a deep history that goes back to the president's
political
first term.
stability. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, exactly, and that's one thing that so the President Trump responded to our interview with Prime Minister Mitsotakis when he came out and said this. Everybody, okay, calm down after the tariffs. We're going to get to a trade deal. President Trump came out and he said, to your point, right, like the president did, that he remembers him from his first term, and they had a great relationship then. And he thanked him for the comments, and lo and behold, where are we now? Less than a year later, less than a year after the Liberation Day tariffs, President Trump has now made trade deals with the European Union, of course, but also with what amounts to essentially, somewhere in the 80s or even low 90s% of world GDP. He's got Japan, India just announced a couple weeks ago, the United Kingdom, European Union, Korea, Vietnam. I mean, go around the world. There's no place that President Trump hasn't already negotiated a deal or is deep into the negotiations and about to finish it. The whole point of this, and you heard this from Secretary Rubio in his address to the Munich Security Conference this year. You heard it from Vice President Vance last year. It's the same message, just different messengers and maybe a slightly different tone. But the message is that we need our European partners to stand with us because there is an existential fight over what kind of a world we're going to be. Are we going to be a world that allows, a communist dictatorship in Beijing to take over the planet? And we've seen the havoc that the Chinese Communist Party has wreaked upon planet Earth, or are we going to be a place that believes in freedom and democracy? And in the United States, we're very proud to this year be celebrating the 250th anniversary of our great country, and what better place to talk about that stuff than the birthplace of democracy, right? Right here in Athens, right? So all of these things, so I think that this wake-up call that you see to the world, it's a consistent message that you hear from President Trump, from Vice President Vance, from Secretary Rubio, on down through the entire team in the American government, is trying to bring the Western world to our side. And I think that somebody like Prime Minister Mitsotakis is a natural ally in that. He seems to understand that. And frankly, I'll tell you this from my conversations with the Greek people. I've met so many great people, both when I came here last April, and now that I'm back here again for a couple of days. It's just been an incredible whirlwind ride whenever I'm here, and my schedule is always totally packed whenever I'm here. But I meet so many great people. I'll tell you, I think that the people of Greece deeply understand this as well, and I think that is an exciting thing, and that's why you're going to continue to see people like me continue to come back and talk about these stories, right? Because I find it interesting, and I think that it is the cutting edge of world geopolitics. We're on the front lines of that right here, and this is what I talked about with the ambassador last night. But also, you're going to see, I think, more and more senior American administration and government officials, senators, cabinet officials, like we talked about, the president, possibly the vice president, all continue to come here too because they see the same things I did.
I'll come later.
Yeah.
Also to the vice president. I'll come also to your ambassador. I would like to go a little bit, since yesterday it was we had the end of the Iran discussions.
Sure.
And I'm coming and I'm talking about, because let's say Beijing for us, for Greeks, is a little bit further away. For you,
sure.
I mean, as an American, is important, because I'm afraid that Beijing and the relations with Russia is important. However, for us, Iran is a little bit closer.
Sure.
It's Ukraine in
Ukraine's
the
not that far off
also,
either.
not
This is why we talk about the vertical corridor.
We have
We're
the
sending
vertical corridor.
the energy up to Ukraine from here.
We have many things that they are interconnected. Let's say the vertical corridor is one thing. The Elefsina port, I will come to that later. However, let's stay for Iran right now.
Sure.
Should we be afraid that we will lose our stability? We will lose maybe the stability of the area. Are we going to see, let's say, Marines set a boot on Iran?
I have no inside information about what the president has planned or not with regard to there. I have no idea what he's going to do or not do. But the one thing I can tell you is that when you look at the here in his second term in particular, and even when you go back to his first term, you look at the various times where he has used America's military might. And believe me, we have the best military on planet Earth, right? Like, and everybody knows
I believe
it.
You don't have
right?
to.
Like, I don't have to sell you on it, right?
No,
like,
don't sell
but
it,
the
yes.
point is that hey, anytime I can say it, we're going to, right? Like, we're proud of it. But the point is that when you look at the various instances, right? So we had Operation Midnight Hammer, where President Trump sent in the B-2 bombers to go take out Fort Al in the Iran nuclear program last summer. What was that? It was a 12-day war where the Israelis fought 11 and a half of it, and the U.S. bombers came in. Nobody even knew they did it until they were out of the country, right? Like the second major operation, Absolute Resolve, which was the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. First off, no American casualties in either operation. That lasted, what, 3.5 hours? Maybe 4, right? Like, so the thing is, I think the president is deeply skeptical of long, prolonged conflicts. He's also deeply skeptical of anything that costs American lives. And so he also wants to have a clear objective and a clear plan before he does anything. So, and I think that he's asking and pressing our various military, intelligence, and other government leaders in the United States, in his team, in his cabinet, and whatnot, to try to get, as well as like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, et cetera, he's asking them for optionality. So when I think that, you see all the attention on, the U.S. is moving all these military assets around, I don't know what they're doing and why they're doing it. I have no idea, right? Again, I have no inside information. I'm literally commenting on this as a journalist and a spectator. But as somebody who's talked to the president multiple times and other people around him, not about this particular stuff and this looming decision, but I just think that he is very skeptical of any long, prolonged war. And you've seen that that behavior from him. He's also somebody who, throughout his entire career, rightly has called out the Iranian regime. He understood that the deal that Barack Obama's administration made was a corrupt deal where we were sending pallets of cash to the Iranians. That didn't make sense. They still got they were still on a path to a nuclear weapon. That made no sense for the United States. So there's the so-called Iran deal that Obama did literally set them up with a nuclear weapon, and it gave them big piles of money to do it, right? Like, so what were we doing there? That doesn't make any sense. So President Trump, I think, is rightfully focused on the threats that emanate from Tehran, but at the same time, I think he's, to your point, deeply concerned and skeptical about any long, prolonged war and anything that would derail stability in the region, because what is the big objective of what he's trying to do, right? You see him doing energy deals, trade deals, et cetera, peace deals worldwide. He's trying to rejuvenate the world economy and push things in a way forward that helps the the United States in ways that we have been screwed over for many generations. And what would disrupt that apple cart, right? What would destroy or potentially derail those efforts from President Trump is a long, prolonged war that costs lots of American lives and that destabilizes the region. So I don't think that he's interested in that type of a thing. But again, I have no inside information about what he's going to do. But he's definitely considering all of that stuff as he makes his decisions.
However, Greece is we lately, 2 days ago, signed this deal with Chevron, which is, yes, obviously makes Greece an ally, an important energy ally.
Yes.
We have the corridor.
Absolutely.
At the same time, there is also some pressure because there is also the Elefsina port that the US wants to have and use the Elefsina port. However, we have also the Piraeus port where we have China there. Yeah. So we have some pressure, and we have a political pressure from coming to Greece, and we are a small country. However, do you think that this political pressure is something that is obvious to the American side, is obvious to the American administration, that
without
we
question,
are,
yes,
we show our strength?
Yeah, without question, yes. The U.S. deeply, particularly under President Trump, I know that President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Vice President Vance, they deeply understand the geopolitical significance of Greece, where it is located, in that it is, the closest really European country to the Middle East. It is the gateway, if you will, from the Far East to the Far West when it comes to trade through the Mediterranean.
The Chinese said that the port of Piraeus is the head of the dragon.
Right, this is literally what I asked
China
Kimberly
for Europe.
Guilfoyle about, right? So the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, came here in 2018 or 19 and said that about the fact that that's the case. The Americans understand this too. And that's why I say this is the front lines, right? This is the most important place, really, arguably, in the world, which is why you were seeing the massive increase in American interest here. I think that the American people understand this. I think that President Trump intends to slay the head of the Chinese dragon, right? Like, I don't think he wants, look, here's the thing. President Trump has a great personal relationship with President Xi in China, right? Like, I mean, the president, I know, intends to go there in April. And
will he tell him go away?
Well, no, I think that they're okay with
head.
Well, hang on. What we're talking about is two different things. They can do whatever they want in their own country.
Obvious.
Okay? But around the world, when they're spreading their malign influence through their Belt and Road Initiative policies and debt diplomacy that are hurting people worldwide, which what we're seeing across Africa, anybody that's made a deal with China, especially in the aftermath of COVID, right? And you saw this with the Italians, and I think you're seeing it here. People are regretting that they made deals with China, and they want to turn to the United States, and they're looking for leadership from the United States. President Trump is finally stepping up and providing that in ways that we didn't have when we had a guy who was half asleep in the White House, right? So, and I'm talking about Biden, of course, right? Like, so, and previously Obama, who just didn't have a clear strategic vision when it comes to this stuff, even though he could stay awake through a press conference. But the point is that we have a president now that has a clear strategic vision and is clearly laying it out in public in great detail, right? I mean, I really highly recommend you watch various interviews I've done with him. I interviewed him the morning after the EU trade deal was signed in Scotland. I was there with him at his golf course, Turnberry. Majestic property, by the way. Incredible place. So,
I believe you again.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. But again, anytime I get a chance to talk about how great President Trump's properties are or the American military, I'm not going to pass it up. So point is, but I do think that when I say slay the head of the Chinese dragon, again, what I'm talking about here is Chinese influence around the world, right? Again, we don't have a problem with them. They can do whatever they want in their own country. And I think the president has a great personal relationship with Xi Jinping. But what we don't want to see is them spreading through the Belt and Road Initiative. We're essentially in deep into a second Cold War, if you will, right now, right? Like, so, after the fall of the wall, the breakup of the Soviet Union, Berlin Wall came down, the Soviet Union broke up, and so on and so forth. Yeah, the Russians, they're problematic. Don't get me wrong. We're not trying to defend them either. But the point is that it's not like communism was gone, dead, and buried. It just moved over to Beijing. And what are they doing? They're spreading it around the world through the Belt and Road Initiative and these deep plans. And frankly, there have been, and the president's talked about this quite a bit, there have been leaders in both political parties in the United States, so not just Democrats, Republicans too, as well as business leaders and cultural leaders, etc., that aided and abetted the rise internationally of the Chinese Communist Party. But the thing is that what they're trying to do is unsustainable. It's going to hurt the world. And I think that, again, the real question is will does the rest of the world want, there are two world superpowers right now. It's China and the United States. Do you want China to win or do you want America to win? And that's the question that the president's pushing forward for people to ask. And I think that you're seeing people more and more come to the realization that they have to make a choice and that the right choice really is the United States. And yeah.
I think, although, as I said, we are a small country, so we have to stabilize in between.
Sure. And by the way, as you heard from the ambassador, I want to be clear. Nobody's blaming Greece for doing the Piraeus port with the Chinese, right? Like, they were the only option. right? Like, so Ambassador Guilfoyle said this to me last night. They were the only option. They were the only game in town. But now we have American leadership, thanks to President Trump, that's coming in and engaging in these places, dating back to his first term, as you mentioned, the Alcina port. So the U.S. is stepping up now in ways that it wasn't before, with strategic long-term planning. And hopefully this is just the beginning of that American leadership.
At least it is obvious that for Greece we are something like we said, let's say, drill baby drill.
Yeah,
it's something like almost.
Well, that's the Chevron deal,
we've said
right?
it,
That's drill baby drill. That's President Trump's vision.
We are one of the very few, I think, NATO members that we have a very, very high defense money. We pay a lot for our defense.
You're making my case for me here, right? Like, it's literally, that's the president I know knows that Greece is, he didn't even have to prod Greece to get to the 5% on defense spending, right? I think Greece has, depending on how you slice it and whatnot, bigger, military, than a lot of the other European countries combined, and it's a smaller country population-wise, right? Than a France or a UK or a Germany or something like that. And again, check my exact numbers, but it's something like that. But the point is, Greece is already there with us, right? Like, and I think that part of that is the recent events in Greece's history, but also the long arc of history, right? Again, this being the birthplace of democracy and everything.
And we should add that we will have the presidency in the next year.
Sure.
The European presidency, which is, I guess, an important part. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the president decides during these 6 months to visit us, since we will be the president of the United States.
I have no idea on his timeline.
I don't have no idea either.
But I also think that that's an important timeline that's coming up with Greece to lead the European Union presidency, the council, because what it's going to do is it's going to, I think, really timeline-wise fit with what Trump is doing on trade, and all of this stuff that's happening right now is leading up to that moment. And what is going to happen there? That is when you start seeing the interlinkage between these various, bilateral trade deals that the United States has renegotiated at the beginning of the Trump administration here. And you're starting to see some of them kick in. Like, look, the Japan deal was announced months ago, but now it's finally starting to kick in. Similar stuff with the EU deal and everything. But once they're all kicked in, then you can start seeing Trump moving the chess pieces around and really using the leverage that he's created here to advance the American interest and put our adversaries in check.
And what about taxes? Do you think that we will end up having he loves President Trump, he loves the taxes, to tax the imports in the USA. Do you think this will continue? Is something that he might less taxation for the.
So you're talking about specifically the tariffs, right? Like,
yes, the tariffs.
So,
you're right.
Okay,
I was saying taxes.
Yeah,
in Greece, we're saying taxes for tariffs.
Okay.
However, it's the tariffs.
Yeah,
yes.
so because when we talk about taxes, we're talking about like income tax and property tax and stuff. That's a very domestic issue in the U.S. And generally speaking, Republicans and President Trump, they don't like taxes. But tariffs, he does like. That being said, I think that everything is always negotiable with President Trump, right? Like, so. You can, always renegotiate. You can always move the needle. You can always find a place where you can get a better deal for both sides. And so I think that that's a constant thing that you're going to continue to see over the course of his presidency. He's always looking for more deals, right? Like, and again, having someone who understands this, like Kimberly Guilfoyle as the U.S. ambassador to Greece, you've already seen her in just over 100 days she's been here now because the Senate delayed her confirmation because we have the beauties of democracy. Sometimes we have complications in our processes in our Senate and so on and so forth. But anyway, she finally got here. She's been here for a little over 100 days, and we've seen the big deals already that they're signing, and I don't think we're done yet. So I think you're going to see more energy deals, more trade deals, more partnerships. That's what he's a deal maker in chief. That's what he really considers himself.
Ms. Guilfoyle, she's following a soft power profile. I mean, she's not as the ambassadors as we knew
Sure.
the American ambassador. She's following a soft power. Do you think that this is something that President Trump enjoys?
I think so. I think that if you look at it's very similar to President Trump's style, frankly, right? Like, so,
Yes, you're right.
I think she learned a lot from President Trump
I'm sure.
and from the people around him. I think that's right. But I think that, again, deal maker in chief, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see her push more deals. One of the things I've heard from, and I talked to a White House official since I've been here, who's been tracking what she's been doing very closely, and they mentioned the fact that she's very glamorous, right? Like, and so you see, how she comes to various events and, uses that to help advance the American interest. Like, I think she was at some event this past weekend I heard about, and then she was sitting in the front row and then was all over TV, and then everybody's talking about, what are they talking about? They're talking about the American ambassador to Greece, and they're talking about the issues that she cares about, like the energy deals and like the vertical corridor. By the way, what are these issues that she cares about? They're issues that America cares about, and they're issues that Greece cares about, because it's and this gets to what the president said when he swore in Greece's ambassador to the United States at the White House this week, where the president came out and said that the relations between the two countries have never been stronger. I believe that to be true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to two more things.
Sure.
And the first thing is it seems that there are three possibilities as the Trump term goes on after the Trump term. Another term? I think it's getting
difficult because we have term limits from presidents, and you never know. Some people talk about that, but it's tough to see. So
there are many people shouting 4 more years.
Trump's ability to defy the norms, but it's hard to see that happen.
Yes. So after that, let's say, will it be Vance or Rubio?
I don't think that you're going to see the two of them run against each other. So I think that
you don't.
I don't. So I think that both of them have incredible
So it's going to be something new, somebody new, somebody that nobody knows?
You will probably see Vance be the person, right? Like, and so now look, anything's subject to change in American politics, so I hate making predictions live on television. That being said, it's very likely that you're going to see Vance will run, most likely, right? Again, I'm predicting the future here, which is very difficult to do. But that being said, and I think you would see Rubio partner up with him pretty quickly and be a running mate, right? Like, I think they would make a powerful ticket. The president has said that he thinks the two of them.
So you're saying maybe the two of them.
Yeah, well, so like you see the 2024 ticket was Trump Vance, right? Who's to say it isn't Vance Rubio in 2028, right? Like, I think that they don't have to be butt heads. I think that they would be a powerful, formidable ticket, and President Trump has said that publicly, by the way. So I think that the two of them could work together very well, and I think that and they do right now, by the way. So like, I know that they are in constant contact and communication. They are constantly working together and talking. They talk every day, and I think that they would be a great team.
Okay. So final question. Do you see the Breitbart news coming to Greece?
Maybe. So I'll tell you this. There are a lot of people that this is now my second trip here, and I'm working on planning my third, that are very interested in, and they've been asking me to try to figure out a way to make this happen, whether we do events here. We've been doing a big event series in Washington, D.C., where we've been talking to the members of the administration, senior cabinet members, as well as the vice president. We hosted in November. There have been people trying to get me to do an event series, us to do an event series here in Athens. So we'll see if we can maybe figure that out, or possibly open an Athens bureau and focus on covering this story. Maybe we'll see. So we're a small but mighty team. We have about 100 people that work here, maybe a little less than that, at Breitbart, based in Washington and around the country in the U.S. We're very spread out in the U.S. Our company headquarters in Los Angeles. I run our Washington bureau with some people in New York, Texas, Florida, et cetera. But we regularly punch above our weight class. So our traffic metrics and social media metrics show us regularly, doing significantly better than some of the biggest newspapers in the country, like the New York Times and Washington Post. So are we looking for ways to expand it around the world? Sure. But I'm not telling you no, I'm just telling you I haven't figured it out yet. Good. So as soon as we figure it out, you'll be the first to know.
So thank you very much, Mr. Boyle, for giving this opportunity to have a discussion. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, κυρίες και κύριοι, που μας παρακολουθήσατε. Παρακολουθήσατε αυτή τη συζήτηση με τον κύριο Μάθιου Μπόιλ. Είναι ο επικεφαλής του γραφείου της Ουάσιγκτον, των Breitbart News, ένας δημοσιογράφος, ένας συνάδελφός μου, ο οποίος μας είπε πολλά, πολύ ενδιαφέροντα. Είναι πολύ κοντά, όπως καταλάβατε, στον πρόεδρο Τραμπ και αυτό δίνει πολλά, τα οποία από αυτά που ακούσαμε ήταν πολύ ενδιαφέροντα. Γεια σας.